Hi, I'm Leigh-Chantelle from VivaLaVegan.net, and today we're here with Cameron Blewett, and we're going to chat a bit about why Cameron is a vegan. So Cam, how long have you been a vegan for?
I've been vegan for probably going on 17 years now.
And what made you decide to become a vegan?
I've read a health book called Fit for Life. It was published in, I think it was mid-80s, and I read it sort of not long after that. And whilst it was a health book and was focusing on the health aspects of the traditional Western diet, a lot of stuff that they said in there didn't make sense. And it was, I sat down one day after I was near the end of reading the book and looked at what I ate objectively and unemotionally, and in the cold light of reality that I could no longer justify eating animal products, and I decided that yep, I went vegan, and went vegan overnight, no transition or anything like that. So consequently after that, my brother ate pretty good because the whole fridge and freezer got emptied out of all the dead animals, and frozen became fresh that was in the freezer and things like that.
So what was it in particular within the book that made you so, I know you said it took you a while, from after reading the book to decide to do it, but what was it that grabbed you, I guess?
It was the things, some of the passages in the book, and I mean, please forgive me, it's been many years since I read the book. One of the things that they said was, being American-based, they've sort of said, well, if you're walking down through the park and you see a squirrel scamper down a tree, do you think, well, there's dinner? Or if you go driving through the country, do you start salivating seeing all the cows out in the paddock?
That's right.
And, want to just go up and take a bite out of a cow, whereas, if you put a bowl of fruit on the table, someone's always going to pick up the bowl of fruit. I think I was just looking at that and thought, well, what they say makes a lot of sense. And yes, vegan after that.
Definitely, because a lot of animals out there, they'll see their prey or whatever and they'll attack it because they need to eat whatever that is, that flesh and that, but we as humans, we don't need to be eating animal flesh. So, was it mostly from a health perspective you became vegan? Or?
Yeah, from the health perspective, that was initially for quite a few years. I still sort of am ashamed to admit that I did keep with my other part of my lifestyle, which was hunting and things like that, because I did go vegan for health reasons, and I didn't see anything ethically wrong with hunting animals, because I was just sort of swept away in all the propaganda that that industry brings out, saying that we need to go and hunt, have culls to conserve the species and things like that. My sort of epiphany happened one day. I was sort of sitting down and reading one of the monthly hunting magazines, and please excuse the gruesomeness. Open up and almost the centre spread of this magazine, there was some guy who was boasting about some wild boar that he caught, and it was one of the biggest tuskers that he'd ever seen. And just looking at the photo, obviously because he's killed it, there's sort of blood coming out of the mouth and all that sort of stuff. And it was just then that I sort of had the epiphany that this is a living being, and what we're doing is wrong, because as much as some of us would like to do it, we can't go and cull humans because they're overpopulating the planet and things like that. And that hunting, culling animals by hunting them, they're only going after the strongest of the species. So in which case they're not actually conserving the species, they're only doing it for their own egotistical reasons. If they're trying to conserve the species, they go after the weaker ones or the older ones, and the dying ones, like natural predators do.
And it's weird, like you're saying, you came from the hunting sort of background, and you find when you become a vegan and other things as well, that you lose that, or you get over, move on from one part of your life or one way of thinking to the next. And do you still hang out with those sort of people? Do you have any friends that are from that aspect of your life, that area of your life anymore? Or?
No, sort of a couple of years after I had that epiphany, was socialising with them sort of up for quite a while after that, and just I didn't do it anymore. And then it came to the point where they were so sure that it was a sport and this and that, and that just didn't sit well with me. You're going out with a high-powered weapon to hunt the defenceless animal, and in anyone's books that's not a sport.
Yeah, it's hard after a while to be around people that just aren't on the same wavelength as you anymore, isn't it? And so, what are you doing within Brisbane to try and market or get the vegan message to the mainstream, not to people?
Late last year, a group of us got together and started an abolitionist group for Queensland called Vegan Existence. It's a solely vegan group focusing on abolition as opposed to other societies and other groups that are in existence that focus more on vegetarianism and welfareism, and putting across that the gradual steps that you can do to towards veganism, whereas myself and the people that are members of Vegan Existence believe that there's only one step and that is vegan. Everything else flows after that.
It's being around some of the people that come along to the Vegan Existence meetings, you do realise that there's so many people that just overnight become vegan, and so many people do think that that's such a hard thing. I know myself, it was more of a transition period for me, but there are so many people that just become vegan like that overnight, so there's obviously things that impact them so much to do that. So certain people say that we shouldn't just be focusing on the vegan aspect, but obviously it is marketable to certain people, isn't it?
That's it, totally. On some of the online forums and where the armchair activists like to get out and puff their chest up and people on our town, they criticise me about being vegan, going vegan because of the health. That was only because I was aware of the abolitionist message. As soon as I started finding out about abolition, which was playing with iTunes one day and came across the Vegan Freak podcast by Bob and Jim Torres, and started listening to that, and they started talking more about abolitionism, and that made sense. I just moved to Queensland at the time and contacted the local Vegetarian Vegan Society because it was the only the resource available. I spoke to the secretary there and tried to find out what abolitionist groups there are in Australia, and she said the only one at the time was Animal Liberation Victoria, because all the others were welfareists.
Yeah, there are quite a few within Australia, aren't there? But obviously, if you've started your own vegan abolitionist group in Brisbane, that you don't see that there's a big enough support for it here, so you need to start your own. Is that right?
That's right. And that was the thing. It's I sort of live by the thing that you either become part of the solution or part of the problem. And
That's right.
for me, just sitting on the sidelines complaining that there was no abolitionist group in Queensland, I was part of the problem. Well, I've got to take a dose of my own medicine and become part of the solution, which is how vegan existence came about.
Yeah, and so quite a few people within the vegan movement that are open to the vegan abolitionist sort of standpoint, or are you getting a bit of resistance from people?
I'd say it's probably a 50-50 mix. I'm getting a lot of resistance from the, for want of a better term, the old guard of veganism, pretty much in the state, who are set in their ways, think that, well, we've done it for the last 15 years, this is what we're going to keep doing. Whereas thinking that I was more of the only one that had these ideas and followed abolition, things like that, to find more and more people all the time that are coming out and agreeing with it and wanting to get involved and things like that. That's pretty much that's what keeps me going. Just to say, well, at least I'm doing something about it. And these armchair activists can sit behind the anonymity of the internet and things like that and complain about whatever they want, and they're not doing anything, and at least I'm out there doing something.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a great way to promote the vegan diet. And veganexistence.com is the V.EX website that you can have a look at, and you're organising quite a few different talks, regular talks that you have monthly at the library. What sort of things can people learn about when they go along?
The first talk, which is going to take place in April the 17th, is just a general why vegan, which is just going to be an informal discussion with myself and some other people on just why we became vegan and why we see that that's obviously the right thing to do. After that, we're going to talk about the next month. Vegan food in May. June is I can't remember what June is or anything like that, because I've just got a mental blank now.
Well, have a look on the line. Have a look at veganexistence.com, because I can't remember any of them either. So that's helpful. But yeah, Cam, it's so great to see someone passionate about, you know, vegan abolition in particular, but you know, promoting the vegan message to the Brisbane community. And yeah, like you were saying before, there are so many people that are used to doing things a certain way that maybe get stuck in that that's the only way. But you know, obviously there's so many different ways that we can move forward with promoting the vegan lifestyle. And if you have a look at vivalavegan.net and also veganexistence.com, you can find out so much more information on both of these topics. Thank you very much, Cameron.